I'm going to come to you today out of Luke chapter 15. And we're going to read the story of the prodigal son. And I've preached this text at least twice in the forge, or at least in this room. And the first time I preached it out of the viewpoint of the son, the first son, the younger son. The second time I preached it, I remember I preached it from the viewpoint of the older son. This time I want to look at it as the father's response to these things. Because the father's response is crucial to understanding this. And we're going to put God in the role of this father in his response to us. I'll confess to you that if we, to dwell on the point of relating your father to God, if I were to relate God to my father, I would have a very absent God. I would have a God that had nothing to do with my life. Because my father left when I was 8 years old, and I really hadn't had much of a relationship since then. I really didn't have much of a relationship with him beforehand. So, my God would be absent. My God would be, whatever. That's not the God we serve. Whatever your father is, he's a good example. You can tie some things to God. But remember that the Heavenly Father is going to be so much better than your earthly father could ever be. And I think that's why Jesus always called him Father. That's why the image of Father is so much in there and ingrained in the Jewish religion and the Christian religion. The fact that Father is who he is. Not mother. Because I could get, mothers always say things like, wait till your daddy gets home. Or wait till your father gets home. He'll deal with that. How many of you have ever had your parents say that? It didn't mean much after I was 8, but before I was 8, I heard it. And it was scary. Mothers, they'll feed you and they'll take care of you and make sure you got your pants pulled up in the right places and your hair put down in the right places and you look good and you're going good and they nurture you. But there's something about the love of a father, of a good father, that makes you respect. That's different. I can't put my finger on it. I don't know what it is, but it's a different kind of dynamic there. Well, let's just read this. We'll read it all the way. You know the story. If you don't know the story, then I don't know. We'll read it to you. It says, "Then Jesus said, there's a man who had 2 sons. The younger of them said to his father, 'Father, give me the share of my property that will belong to me.' So he divided up his property between them." Hold on. We're going to take this in bites, because I don't want to read this. I don't want to just read the story and not do commentary, because when I read it, I want to tell you. And then when I get back, see, what we have here is a situation. We got a young man who's working in the fields, doing whatever he's got to do. We've got the first person Jesus mentions is the fact that he says there's a man who had 2 sons, establishing there's a father with 2 boys. And both of them are working hard for their dad. They're working hard because this is a family business. Back in the day, in Jerusalem times, even today, farm life is a family life. You worked on the family business. You did what the family did. And the young man was tired of it. He was frustrated. He was bored. Life was going nowhere for him. He had to do something, and he had to do it now. This was not working for him. So he goes up to his dad, and he says, "Dad, give me what is mine." Now, here's the point. Here's a problem with this. He looked at, in Jerusalem times, in those days, they had a concept of when the father died, the older of the 2 siblings would get 2/3 of the land. 2/3 of his father's possessions. And the younger would get 1/3. So this younger brother was looking for 1/3 of his possessions. He was basically looking up to his dad, going up to his father. When he asked him for what was his, he says, I want you dead, and I want you to give me what's mine. He was wishing his father dead. He basically killed his dad without actually killing his father. He's saying, my life stinks. My life is horrible. So if you were dead, my life would be so much better because then I'd have something. Harsh words there. Harsh concept. I don't care about you. What did they do? Now, some of our dads, if we had gone up to our father and said that, we either would have been slapped, laughed at, or said, boy, get back to work. That's what you would expect to hear, right? He says, I'm not going to do, I disown you as my son. Get out. Is that what the father did? That's what he should have done. That's what our minds say. Our father, I would have kicked him out, kicked him to the curb. You're on your own. You don't want to be here? I don't want you here. That's what we expect to hear. That's what we expect to read next, right? No. Father said, yeah, I will sacrifice myself for you. I will give you what you want. Well, I love that. So when he had, a few days later, the younger son gathered all that he had and traveled to a distant country. There he squandered his property in dissolute living. When he had spent everything, a severe famine took place throughout that country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed the pigs. Feed the pigs. He would gladly have filled himself with the pods the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, how many of my father's hired hands have bread enough to spare? But here I am dying of hunger. I will get up and go to my father and say to him, Father, I've sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of your hired hands. So he set off and went to his father. But while he was still far off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. He ran and put his arms around him and kissed him. Then he said to his son, Then the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.